You've wanted to come here for a while, but at easily $300 a person, that price tag breaks the bank. What if I told you that you could have all of that and more for just $49? This isn't your typical buffet with heat lamps and tired trays. It's a brand new all-you-can-eat brunch where luxury steakhouse food is made fresh, to order, and served right to your table. Welcome to Let's Eat Vegas, where we show you the good, the bad, and the delicious. I've cooked for some of the biggest names in Hollywood, but now I'm here to uncover the truth about Vegas dining. Today, we stepped inside one of the Strip's most glamorous steakhouses, STK at the Cosmopolitan. For just $49, you can feast on steakhouse classics, creative brunch dishes, and yes, all you want. We tried nearly everything on the all-you-can-eat menu, plus a few extras. Stay tuned until the end, because I'll show you how to get even more value out of this deal, including a way to score a free appetizer. Okay, let's get started. They start your meal with a thoughtful touch. Complimentary pastries. A mini chocolate croissant and a larger, buttery one arrive at the table, both flaky and light. Small nod to Parisian cafes, where the croissant first became iconic in the 19th century. The French perfected laminated dough, layering butter between sheets of pastry to create that signature golden flake we love today. These little bites carry that tradition forward. It's a simple beginning, but one that sets the tone with elegance and just enough indulgence to wake up your palate. And of course, the road to my heart is paved with dark chocolate. The French word charcuterie dates back to the 15th century, meaning cooked flesh. Cooked flesh. Well, I can see why the term charcuterie has won out. In Paris, shops known as chocoutiers specialized in cured meats, pâtés, sausages, and terrines. Over the centuries, this tradition spread across Europe, evolving into the beautiful grazing boards we see today. In Italy, you'll find similar spreads called antipasti. Well, we're off to a good start. Figs, balsamic vinegar reduction, prosciutto, mortadella, mint blue cheese, stuffed olives, pistachios, and dried cranberries accompanied by toasted slices of French bread. Pick up a skewer and dive right in. The flavor of the fig and ham with the balsamic vinegar is a force to be reckoned with. I always love this flavor combination. It's bold, simple, very fresh. Reminds me of a time spent in Europe on the Mediterranean coast, where they serve this type of dish in the summer. You can dine al fresco and watch life pass by. What beautiful escapism. Here in Vegas, for my liking, it's a little hot to eat outdoors, but this is a refreshing taste of summer on a plate, and I'm loving it. The prices at STK are known to be pretty expensive, and on the regular brunch menu, this dish alone would cost you nearly the entire price of the all-you-can-eat brunch. That makes this all-you-can-eat a true bargain. It's not just a deal, it's a steal. Another great deal is subscribing to our channel. It's free. However, according to YouTube, 80% of you watching right now are not subscribed. This could not be! Subscribing is free, helps us grow and to bring you more reviews. And if you find value in our reviews, consider making a small donation using the link to buy me a coffee in the description area below. We'd greatly appreciate it. The Cobb salad is one of the most famous American salads. First tossed together in 1937 at the Brown Derby restaurant in Hollywood. Legend has it that Robert Cobb, the owner, raided the kitchen late one night and chopped up whatever he could get his hands on. In the kitchen, that is. Lettuce, bacon, turkey, avocado, tomato, blue cheese, and a hard-boiled egg. The creation became a sensation, a signature dish of the Brown Derby, and a favorite among movie stars of the Golden Age. The restaurant itself was a landmark, always buzzing with celebrities, the very heart of Hollywood nightlife. I always love a good Cobb salad. It takes me back to my childhood and the times my family and I dined at the Brown Derby. I'd love to hear if you have any stories you may have about that iconic restaurant. I'll never forget being 10 years old when my hero Groucho Marx was there. Without hesitation, I ran up and asked for his autograph. He quickly scribbled it on a cocktail napkin and quipped, "Okay, kid, go away, you bother me." That moment stayed with me forever. Years later, when I opened up my own restaurant, I finally knew what it felt like to be on the other side of that story. This time, I was serving the stars. I had the privilege of cooking for people like Ray Romano, Steve Martin, and Paul McCartney. Just as the Brown Derby brought celebrities together over a Cobb salad, I felt proud to carry that tradition forward. Great food and unforgettable moments shared with some of the most famous names in the world. This version of the Cobb is very true to the original I remember all those years ago. A light Italian dressing, beautiful quality blue cheese, probably Maytag. The bacon is crumbled on the side along with grilled diced chicken, avocado, tomato, chopped egg, and SDK's roasted yellow peppers. Don't miss this nostalgic nod to the past right here on the Strip. It's wonderful. Okay, keeping in mind what we discussed in the intro, this dish will normally run you $36. That's only $13 short of the price of the entire all-you-could-eat buffet. In addition to it being a great deal, it's fresh and light, and I love the simplicity of the avocado and tuna. It's served in a flavorful dressing, combining soy sauce and chili oil, but not overly spicy. Even those who can't tolerate much heat would be okay with it. And the terror chips, that's a nice touch. Tuna tartare, as we know it today, is a fairly modern invention, tracing back to the 1980s when chefs began experimenting with raw fish in a French-inspired style similar to steak tartare. The trend gained steam in California, where fresh sushi-grade tuna was plentiful and diners were open to global influences. Before long, it was showing up on menus everywhere from high-end restaurants to hotel brunches. These days, tuna tartare has become a staple at all-you-could-eat brunches in Vegas, and I'm perfectly okay with that. This one's a bit under-seasoned for my liking, but that's easily remedied, and overall, a decent appetizer and a refreshing early-in-the-meal course. These little beauties aren't part of the AYCE brunch, but stay tuned. I'll tell you at the end how to score them, or any similar appetizer, for free. The beef is some of SDK's finest Wagyu, known worldwide as the gold standard of luxury beef. Wagyu originated in Japan, where cattle were bred for their endurance. Over time, this selective breeding produced beef with extraordinary marbling, those delicate veins of fat that melt into the meat, creating the rich, buttery flavor for which Wagyu is famous. Today, it's a symbol of indulgence on menus around the globe. Here, the Wagyu is showcased in slider form, and it doesn't disappoint. The meat is full of deep, savory umami flavor. The house-made remoulade is a perfect match, smooth, silky, and draped over the patties, adding a sweet, fresh contrast to the rich beef. These sliders aren't dainty. They're generous, and more than a mouthful each. And here's a pro tip to make your brunch even better. Ask for salt. They'll bring out a bold, coarse, wet salt that sticks like glue and transforms every dish. The food here tends to run light on seasoning, maybe in an effort to keep things quote-unquote healthier. My advice, ask for the salt and use your own sensibilities accordingly. I think a few sprinkles and you'll be glad you did. Colorful heirloom beets are roasted until tender and halved, then plated alongside a field of arugula and microgreens. The salad is topped with fresh burrata cheese, toasted pistachios, and a bright house-made pesto. With the exception of a bit of under-seasoning, I absolutely love this salad. Reminds me of one I served years ago. It's light, yet at the same time robust and full of layered flavors. The beets are slightly charred, bringing out their natural sweetness, which plays beautifully against the cool, creamy burrata. This cheese, originally from southern Italy, was created in the early 20th century by dairy farmers in Puglia who didn't want to let leftover mozzarella scraps go to waste. They wrapped them in fresh mozzarella skin and filled it with cream, creating that luscious, rich center we still adore today. It's one of those ingredients that elevates even the simplest of dishes. The pesto here is not a garlic-heavy version. Instead, it leans closer to pure, vivid basil with just enough olive oil to tie it together. It's alive, bright, and hard to stop eating. Pulls the whole dish together. The toasted crouton on top, though, missed the mark. One bite was enough for me, and I was happy to move on to the stars of the plate. This salad is both rustic and elegant, earthy and fresh, a perfect example of how simple ingredients, treated with care, can taste extraordinary. SDK is famous around the globe for its wonderful steaks. So it hardly would be an SDK experience, AYCE or no, without having one on the menu. Normally, the steaks here are very pricey, so having one included makes this brunch an even better deal. You can get one steak per person, so you better believe we'll be ordering a second one before we're finished. Again, remember, salt is your friend. My mother's pet peeve was anyone who salted their food before tasting it. She'd always tell me about Sigmund Freud, who dined with people before he hired them, and if they salted before tasting, they didn't get the job. True story. Well, after some of the previous dishes, I did salt the meat without tasting it, and the fries too. Looks as though I have no future with Dr. Freud. That being said, the beef is fantastic. I always ask for mine rare, but as I always tell you, they'll cook at any temperature you like. It's a fantastic skirt steak, which is cut from the diaphragm muscle of the cow, long and thin, prized for its rich, marbling, deep, beefy flavor and natural tenderness when cooked correctly. So next time you hear a cow mooing, just realize they're working to bring you a fine skirt steak. In Latin cuisine, it's the classic cut used for fajitas, and in French bistros, it's the steak frites standard. Here, it's beautifully charred, juicy, and loaded with umami. We chose the peppercorn sauce, and it's a 10 out of 10. Creamy, rich, and bolder than John D. Rockefeller's bank account. Tastes like it's made with a good brandy, lots of fresh cream, and plenty of crushed peppercorns for that perfect bite. The pommes frites, some of the best I've tasted since my days abroad in Paris and Belgium. These aren't ordinary fries. They taste like the triple cooked kind, blanched, cooled, and fried twice for that golden, crisp shell with a fluffy inside. I used to make them this way in my restaurant, and let me tell you, they're a labor of love. We even had a person whose sole job was just making these potatoes. Judging by how good these are, I wouldn't be surprised if SDK does the same. I've yet to find a Las Vegas brunch that doesn't serve its version of this iconic dish. First developed in Harlem in the 1930s at the Wells Supper Club. The combination of crispy fried chicken and fluffy waffles quickly became a late-night favorite for jazz musicians and has since grown into an all-American classic. Honestly, I have to admit, I've rarely eaten a chicken and waffles I didn't like, though I admit I'm a sucker for anything fried, especially chicken. Here, the breast meat is pounded thin like a cutlet, brined to perfection, seasoned in a bold Cajun batter, and fried until golden brown and shatteringly crisp. One bite, and it explodes with flavor. The dish feels like East meets West, thanks to shishito peppers and Asian pickles. A clear signal this isn't your traditional Harlem-style plate, but rather SDK's modern twist. The waffle is lighter than most I've had. It's almost like a puff of air, dissolving on the tongue without effort. The syrup, however, is unconventional, more like an Asian dressing with notes of molasses, maple, and soy. It's creative, but for me, it clashes with the southern spirit of the dish. Hidden underneath is a mound of good old-fashioned American slaw, a surprise touch that pulls it back home. I've got mixed feelings about SDK's version. I'd try it again, but next time, I'd prefer it without the Asian-inspired syrup. Still, it's a bold take on a beloved classic, and I'd love to hear what you think of it. Included in the AYCE price are unlimited sides. You have a choice of bacon, eggs, sausage patties, corn pudding, and broccolini. I went with the scratch-made sausage, and I have to say that they almost don't taste like pork. If I were blindfolded, I'd swear I was eating beef. Maybe it's the natural flavor of the beef in the kitchen seeping into the grill over time, or maybe it's intentional. Either way, the effect works. These patties are delicious, seasoned with just the right hint of sage and black pepper. Like most of the dishes here, they're a little light on salt, so with a simple dusting, and they begin to shine. Here again is a fantastic deal. These sides on their own normally run you between $15 and $25 each. What a beautiful hollandaise. Vibrant yellow, silky and glossy. A perfectly poached egg sits on top of rich, sweet pork belly, roasted pickled peppers, and a toasted English muffin. Honestly, I wish I'd started my meal with this because now I'm beginning to fill up. Cut into the yolk and watch the golden sauce run over the pork belly and muffin. It's one big glorious mess, and one in which egg lovers will rejoice. This Benny is served a la carte. No filler potatoes on the side. That's a smart choice. The hollandaise leans more tart than most, very lemon forward, which balances the richness and keeps it from becoming too heavy. And my favorite part is the pork belly. It's smoky, sweet, and clearly made in-house. One of the best I've ever had. This is an unexpected, elevated version of a classic Benedict. Familiar, yet completely its own. And this is the first dish that hasn't needed any salt. If I'd changed one thing about it, I would have liked more of the tart roasted peppers. It would have been fantastic to help smooth out some of the richness and add more acid. Anyway, a fantastic dish. Think of this as an upscale take on the McMuffin. The English muffins are scratch-made, rustic, and hearty. The sausage patties are also made in-house, seasoned just right, and paired with soft scrambled eggs and melted cheese. On the side, you get pickled peppers, not just as a garnish, but to pile onto the patties for an extra pop of flavor. All that being said, if I were to cut one item from this brunch, it would be these sliders. They're good, no question, but they feel like overkill on a menu where the chef's creativity could shine in more unique ways. This butler-style buffet is a new concept for SDK, which they're testing here in Vegas. And while the sliders check the box for comfort food, I'd love to see them replaced with something more inventive in keeping with the excitement of this ACE brunch. All right, I admit it, I'm a pasta snob. But I've earned that right, growing up in an Italian family where pasta wasn't just dinner, it was religion, and mediocrity wasn't allowed. On paper, this dish looks like a winner. Pasta, shaved black truffles, and wild mushrooms. You had me at truffles. In reality, though, it's more confusion than fusion. The pasta is cooked well, nice and toothsome, but then rinsed of all its starch. Cardinal sin. My mother would have had a conniption over that alone. The sauce, well, the ingredients, unnamed on the menu, tastes like a strange blend of balsamic vinegar, soy sauce, and maybe molasses or possibly saba, drizzled over everything in a way that drowns rather than complements. Sautéed spinach is crumpled randomly into the mix, as if they couldn't decide which direction they were going. The biggest crime is that the true star, the beautiful, fragrant truffle, is completely lost. Its delicate flavor is buried beneath the heavy, clashing notes of the mysterious sauce. If you're going to feature truffle, let it shine. All this plate really needed was simplicity. Truffles, mushrooms, and maybe a little butter or fresh cream to bring it all together. Instead, it's an overworked experiment that misses the mark. Of course, we couldn't resist ordering the second skirt steak we had coming. But this time, we opted for the SDK house sauce. The meat was just as decadent as the first time, deep, rich, and full of flavor. The fries were equally fantastic, everything a potato aspires to be. But the sauce, well, that's where things get tricky. I think SDK's house sauce is meant to be a modern version on the legendary Escoffier sauce, created by the great French chef Auguste Escoffier, who's often called the king of chefs and the chef of kings. Escoffier's sauces became famous in hotel dining rooms across Europe and America in the early 1900s, especially at the Ritz. They were bold, elegant, and interestingly enough, often ketchup-based, which was unusual in the cuisine of that time. My parents were obsessed with that sauce, and I think it's one of the first reasons people in the US started putting ketchup on their steaks, to mimic that famous Escoffier creation. Unfortunately, this version falls short of the classic I remember so fondly. It lacks the depth and balance that made the original so unforgettable, and is overly sweet. I think Auguste might be rolling in his grave. My advice, pass on the house sauce and go for the chimichurri or the peppercorn instead. Both highlight the steak beautifully without overshadowing it. These pancakes are a treat. Light, fluffy, and drenched in a rich, buttery house-made tres leche sauce. It instantly took me back to my time apprenticing as a chef in Mexico City. The tres leche syrup reminds me of cajeta, the caramel-like confection made from goat's milk, and I'm almost certain that's the base they've infused here. It's indulgent, smooth, and unlike the usual maple you find at brunch. The chantilly cream is infused with pumpkin spice, which feels perfect for fall. Then again, pumpkin has broken out of its seasonal cage. It's a mainstream now, popping up year-round in everything from lattes to desserts. And I don't mind. The warming spices pair beautifully with these pancakes. This is a dish made for Instagram, bursting with color from fresh berries and sprigs of mint. Real maple syrup, none of that fake stuff, sets the tone for the high-quality ingredients you'll find at SDK. The toast itself, a thick cut of brioche, is only lightly dipped in batter, leaving it a bit drier than the custardy versions I usually prefer. The syrup and berries bring in the moisture it needs, but a richer soak would have taken it to another level. The fruit, though, is a star in its own. The strawberries are sensational, the blueberries perfectly firm, and the blackberries, only two on the plate, are shockingly sweet and plump. Even better is the whipped mascarpone, served in delicate dollops on the side. Paired with the berries, it's a little match made in heaven. Fresh and light, this panna cotta is extremely delicate, with just the right amount of jiggle, exactly how a perfect panna cotta should be. Creamy, silky, and just barely holding together. I like the accompanying fresh fruit. The pineapple is sweet and perfectly ripe. The watermelon is juicy and flavorful. The only real stumbling point was the cantaloupe. Sadly, one of the worst I've ever had. Completely underripe, bland, and downright impenetrable. If you're a panna cotta lover, this will be a highlight. And with all the pancakes, French toast, and other sweet items, there's plenty here to satisfy those with a sweet tooth. Now, being a chocoholic, I did start to rummage through the menu looking at the separate desserts. But the only other dessert items aren't part of the all-you-can-eat deal, and each run an extra $20 to $25, further showcasing just how good a deal this buffet is at only $49. So I ordered another round of pancakes and panna cotta and called it a day. At the end of the day, SDK's new all-you-can-eat brunch is another addition to Vegas's growing take on AYCE buffets. A stylish, high-energy alternative to the tired buffet scene, where a smaller selection of dishes are served fresh-made and you don't have to get up to gather your food. Sure, not every dish hits the mark, but when the highlights are this strong, such as the skirt steak with peppercorn sauce, pork belly benedict, the roasted beet and burrata salad, and of course, the awesome charcuterie, well, you walk away feeling like you got more than your money's worth. It's hard to make a direct comparison due to the menu differences, but if you were to get every item on the AYCE menu, it would easily come to over a $300 value, all for just $49. So it's not just an AYCE brunch, it's a legit Vegas deal hiding inside one of the Strip's most glamorous steakhouses. Would I come back? Absolutely. I have my reservation already scheduled. Just remember to ask for salt, skip the truffle pasta, and save room for the steak. Maybe bring along a few vegetarian friends so you can score their steak dishes. If you're hunting for a brunch that blends glitz, substance, and value, SDK at the Cosmopolitan deserves a spot at the top of your list. Now here's the tip I promised you to save on your visit and get a free appetizer. Sign up for SDK's Friends and Benefits reward, and you'll receive a free appetizer of your choice. You'll also get points that add up to discounts on each visit, and you'll get sent special offers. If you're a local at the Cosmopolitan, You can also get 3 hours free parking with a Nevada ID. Well, we'll be back to SDK Brunch soon, and who knows, maybe you'll see us there. And don't forget to tell them, Let's Eat Vegas sent you. This would be a good time to hit the notifications bell so you get a reminder when the next review becomes available. And of course, it's always a good time to like, subscribe, comment, or share. It's free to do so, and it helps us to grow and to bring you more reviews. Until we eat again, bon appetit!